Good morning, good morning, good morning. I apologize for my 20 seconds of tardiness. Um, I say it's every day, or at least I think it every day, right? So my Zoom is connected to my phone. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it is. And I suspect to unconnect it is probably like one button. But because I don't know where that button is, the time that I would need to spend to find that one button is time I don't have. So every time I set up Zoom in the morning, hey Ian, good morning, I'm left going to the phone and doing this and then coming back here and doing that. And it's a 20-second process that stays with me for the next hour. So it's like I should solve it, right? Okay. Anyways, though, how's everyone doing? I'm having a great day. Hey, Brian, good morning. I got your text last night, Brian, totally cool. Carl, I love your new email, Rhino Carl. I think that's what it was, or Carl Rhino, one of the two. I'm not going to say the domain to it because everyone in here will then know and then start emailing you. But when I see things like that, it excites me. Hey, Frida, good morning. So cool. I don't know, super cool. So anyway, last night I sent out an email that I think everyone would have received. I actually sent it to like everyone. And it's funny because when I was thinking about sending the email, I was thinking who to send it to, right? And all right, so should we send it just to our coin holders? Should we send it to just our investors? Should we just send it to everyone? And I think the appropriate answer probably would have been to send it to our investors and coin holders, people that have actual stakes in the company. But that just isn't me. I was thinking of it and I'm like, two things. One, I've never sent an email to just one sliver versus the others, except the coin holders every Friday, where I'm like, hey, you are on this plan. Why don't you upgrade it? And that is because we're addressing someone that actually has a plan. So it's not like we sent it to a small sliver of people. It's the appropriate people, right? Like I wouldn't message people in Siberia and say, hey, listen, did you buy your new bathing suit, right? Like it would make no sense. But so I've never done it. And I'm just morally against it for two reasons. One, I've always said any message that we send out, everyone gets to know it. And I think the good of that is that there's never a point in time anyone in Rhino's like, oh my God, I feel like I don't know everything. No, everyone knows everything to a fault. Everyone knows everything. And then secondly, especially with my time in the stock market and just my time in life, right? Like I'm 36 and I've had enough years to know that you don't know everything, right? Like you don't know what someone's going to do. And when you go ahead and put yourself in a position that you're already giving the person a reason to say no, they will. But you don't know what that they're going to say no until you ask, right? Like I'll tell you a funny story. Back when Anthony was single and, back when I was cool, right? Like I'm not cool now, but back when I was cool, I went to this, I lived on the Jersey Shore. I grew up in Freehold, New Jersey, and then I moved to Long Branch. I'm now back in Freehold. There's this club, it's called DJ's. And DJ's was like the Jersey Shore club. And it opened at like 9 in the morning. And that's where all the cool kids would go. By like 10 o'clock, there was a line outside the door and you weren't getting in until like 11 a.m. Sorry, someone's calling me. So on Sundays, they they have what you call brunch. Now, brunch to you and I is food. Like I love food. Brunch is great. It's actually probably my favorite meal of the week, which I really should do more often. Like Sunday brunch is great. But that's not really what it was. A brunch at DJ's meant that when you got there, they blacked out all the windows. They had a DJ already like with the craziest loud music. So if you could imagine a New York City club at 2 a.m., that's what DJs look like at 9 a.m. That's how it opened. And they had shot girls walking around and the whole nine. And the idea was, well, once you're in that environment, you would pretend it's a Saturday night. So once you start drinking and you see the shot girls and you see the DJ and people are fist pumping and you're shoulder to shoulder, well, you're in club mode. You no longer know what time it is. So that was DJs. So I've only actually been there to one brunch because it's just totally insane. Like it's not real people, but when you grow up in Jersey, you do it. So I went with a couple of friends and we had a couple of drinks. I think I was like 22 or something. And I was saying to my friend, you never know until you ask someone, right? So my mother used to always say, well, you don't know that the girl's going to say no to going on a date until you ask her. And actually what she would say, and she made a very good point, was the girls that you deem to be the prettiest are the ones that don't get asked by guys, because guys are intimidated to go up to them. The guy thinks he's going to get shot down. So that girl is actually kind of one of the loneliest, because the only guys that go up to her are the guys that have nothing to lose, like the people that you wouldn't actually think are good guys, right? Like they're either this, or this, but like characteristics that you wouldn't find attractive. And they have nothing to lose, so they don't care. They have no pride. They're not intimidated to do anything, so they go up. So these girls who, by all intents and purposes, check every box, are the ones that get approached by the least qualified men. They don't get approached by, the good guys or whatever. So I was describing this to my friend, and it made sense. And he goes, and I said to him, well, why don't you go up to that girl and ask her out, right? And he was totally intimidated, right? Like he was making an excuse. Nah, this, that, beep, boop, bop, bop, bop. And I said to him, I was like, I bet if you go up to her and ask her to like, just give you a kiss, she would say yes, because you're a good looking guy, and I bet no one's ever asked her. I go, I'm willing to guarantee that she would. And, I thought that was it. And then he flipped it on me. He goes, oh yeah, if you're willing to guarantee it, why don't you do it? And then everyone in the crowd is like, yeah, and I'm in a position, I can't say no. I'm giving advice to someone and guaranteeing it. How am I supposed to say no? So I was totally terrified, like super scared. But of course I had to look cool. I could do it, no big deal. So of course the girl that we picked out was the one that like the queen bee, right? And that was what inspired the conversation. So everything that inspired the conversation got flipped on me, and I was totally scared. So now I'm like walking over to this girl, and everyone's looking at me, and my pride is on the line because I just gave this story. And I go up to her, and she like just turns to me, and I'm just like, oh my God. It was almost like if you're going to get the cookie out the jar and your mother wakes up and it's like midnight and you're not supposed to have that cookie, and you creep over and you open the jar, and then your mother looks at you, freeze, you become a deer. So I said to her, I go, hey, I bet you've never been asked this question, because I know I haven't, and we seem pretty comparable, and I want to check this off. This is one of my what's it called? What's it called when your pillow list, your I don't know, the list that like before you die you want to check it off, your bucket list. Thank you, Maurice. I go, and I want to check this off my bucket list, and I think it'd be fun. You seem totally cool. Have you ever just randomly kissed a random person that came up to you and then walked away and never knew each other again? Before she even answered, she just planted one on me. And it was like maybe 2 seconds, right? Like not a crazy thing. Like I'm not sitting here sharing like a titillating story. I'm sharing more of, you have to ask the question. And I got to tell you, my heart was racing. I never, ever thought in a million bazillion years that would happen. But I felt this rush, like my knees were weak, but I felt this rush like, oh my God, I can't wait to turn around and walk back to my group of friends. Because for that moment, I was king of the world. So I walk back, and of course, like I'm completely flushed. I can't even put words together. And I know I'm running to the bathroom right away because I need to just catch my breath. But you still have to look cool for that moment. See, I told you. And I said exactly what I told you to say, and that's what happened. I'll be right back. So I go to the bathroom like, and then I come to, and I go back out there, and we never even saw each other again. But we shared that moment. And the point of the story is, where I'm sharing 22-year-old cool Anthony's story, is that you don't know the answer until you ask the question. Because more times than not, if you're an ethical person with good intentions and good reason, then the person that's listening to you will sense that. And whether they say yes or no is not going to be based on some preconceived notion that you're already giving them to say no. Like my friend in that story is already saying, no, maybe she has a boyfriend, or maybe this, or maybe she, she's around her friends, or she's not that type of girl. You don't know any of that, because the reality was, it was a fun little moment. It was a little moment in time that I'm sure that person has told the story. Maybe she told the story to one of her guy friends, right? Like maybe she has a guy friend that is uncomfortable to go up to someone. And she goes, you know what? I'll tell you something. There was one time at this club where this guy I didn't even know came up to me and said this, this, and this. And I'm sure the guy would say, oh my God, you probably smacked him. No, I did it because it was fun and he was respectful. And the worst that would have happened is I would have said no, and I know he was a respectful guy. So maybe that story then changed that person's life. I don't know. But I know that I had good intentions. It was nothing immoral. So the point of this whole story, other than like story time with Anthony on a Wednesday, Tuesday, what I think today's Wednesday morning, is that when I sent out that email last night, I sent it to our entire list because I don't know who's on our list, who's kind of just waiting in the wings, who's waiting for that opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to take this. Now, to that point, I haven't actually seen that. Nobody went ahead and scheduled a call that I don't know. So I don't know if that exists, but how do I know that? We have, I think, 22 people with Tesla.com domains. We have, I think, like 60 something .govs. We have, I think, 16 different private equity firms. We have a lot of people on our list that read our emails. So I don't know, but I wasn't going to give them the reason to go ahead and I wasn't giving them, I wasn't preconceived notion believing that it's a no. So anyway, getting back to the email, because I'm going to be calling everyone under the sun today. I told everyone that today's my investor day and tomorrow I'm just calling everyone. So the reason that we sent out the email, and I actually get kind of frustrated sometimes, to be honest with you, because my role in Rhino is to go ahead and perform, not magic, but like to go ahead and constantly move the vision forward, to be able to be accountable to say, this is what I'm going to do and do it. I had a caffeine drink this morning, so I'm like all wired. But yeah, me with caffeine, right? So that's always been my role. And by any means necessary. Like we have teams of people that, we have salary positions, we have head of departments, we have RVP groups, we have affiliates, and we have a whole bunch of technology that we're inventing on the fly, right? So when you go ahead and weave all this stuff together, it's not easy. Like you know, there's one of our rhinos that I've actually known for quite some time, and he might even be on this call. And for whatever reason, he feels the need to message me every single day and tell me what's wrong, which I'm totally okay with. I've always said, tell me. But he always then goes ahead and adds in some emotional aspect to it. Like, oh, it's really disappointing that this still isn't working. Or I really could do a lot, but I don't want to put my name on the line when you're unable to do this, right? Like stuff like that. And I find that kind of stuff is very belittling. It makes me feel like I'm speaking to my father. It makes me feel like I'm beneath you and disappointing you. And I don't think that's fair, right? Like I allow everyone to talk to me any way they like because I've always taken the good out of it. So when I go ahead and say this to the person, please stop talking to me like that, and they continually to do it, I simply say, you know, just stop messaging me. And I've never done that before, right? Like, and it made me feel some type of way, like, am I like, should I have done that? And no, Rhino has a line, like we are always going to defend our respect, like treat us the way we treat you. But more so than that, it kind of illuminated something that's been on my mind, that I'm getting frustrated. And it's not that I'm getting frustrated at any individual, but doing what we do during the time that we've done it. Think about it. Today is 3-month anniversary since we went public. We went public at $1. We're now $2.41. And it's not like, oh, they went to 10 and then the market slashed them to 241. And, you know, yeah, it sounds really great. You're up, you know, 240%, but a lot of people lost money. No, we purposely, by design, allowed it to step up every single day. Like we're down only 3 days, and that's because we needed Coinbase to go ahead and release our funds because we had a 7-day holding period with them in the beginning. Meaning, no matter what, every single person who ever bought Rhino is profitable. Every single person ever is profitable. In fact, every single person that ever thought about buying Rhino and did not buy Rhino regrets it. And not regretting like where they're ripping out their hair, but on a simple math equation, if I bought this, would I be profitable? Yes, I should have bought this. Yes, I regret not buying it, right? Every single person. And every single person that did buy it is happy. During a time where FTX, the second largest exchange, went bankrupt, during a time that Bitcoin went from like 24,000 down to 15,000, and now it's sitting at 21, during a time where the stock market has been just creating fear, right? It goes up, and then it goes down and up and down. And that type of volatility really scares people. So for instance, I don't know where the stock market is today. I don't know where it was 3 months ago, but let's say it's about even keel, but went up a lot, it went down a lot, up, 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 up. One would say by looking at a chart, oh, it's exactly where it was 3 months ago. Nobody lost any money. Well, that's not really true because down over 300 yesterday. Thank you. So people are not happy. But that's not really true, right? So the people that bought it up here lost money when it went down here because that's where they sold. And then the people down here made money when it up. The point is everyone wasn't treated equally. To go ahead and make money in the stock market, in the example I'm giving over the last 3 months, you need to have a little bit of luck or a really, really high skill set where you're able to effectively trade. With Rhino, you don't need any of that. You just buy it and you leave it alone. So over the last 3 months, and it really has been a case study, we have what you would call proof. And not like you don't know the definition of proof, but in the internet marketing world, you want to have proof when you run ads, when you go ahead and show to anybody. Because the unique feature about Rhino is when we all got together in the beginning, there was no proof. I guess you could kind of say I was the proof, like me and you felt comfortable that I would deliver. But that's very different than having a resume of delivering on exactly what we were talking about. 3 months ago, it was just pie in the sky. Hey, we're going public today and we're going to go up a penny per day and we're never going to go down. And it's the coin that's always going to go up. And like, that sounds crazy. That sounds like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. That sounds like, yeah, okay, yeah, like I'm in it. If you can even do 10% of that, I'll be happy. But that sounds crazy. And people have told me that. In fact, I probably thought my wife thought it sounded crazy. She's like, how are you going to do that? I was like, because I know what I'm doing. And there's a lot that goes into this. There's a lot of behavioral science and economics that go into it because I'll tell you, and this is probably part of the conversation I want to have with anyone I speak to on the phone today. Of the 350 members of Rhino, I think only 260 have active wallet addresses, which means 90 don't even have active wallets. And of the 90 that don't have active wallets are some of the biggest contributors. There is a gentleman that does 500 a week that actually doesn't even have a wallet. There's a gentleman that did 500 a week, then went to 250 a week, then went to 150 a week, and is now at 25, that actually does not even have a wallet. And what does that mean? Well, it means that the individual is in it with no expectation that they're going to sell anytime soon, that they're of the belief that this is going to work long term. Now, they could be right or wrong. That's not the point. The point is that actual statistic. So about 75% of members have wallets, which means 25% don't even have wallets. So when you have money coming in, 25% of the weekly money, for instance, I have no immediate fear that I need to go ahead and support it or redeem it because those individuals don't even have the mechanism to take the money back. Now, of course, you could call me and I'll always say yes to anything, but that's their behavior. So we have to be able to calculate behavior. Now, of the 75% that actually do have wallets, I think maybe six individuals sell on a consistent basis. Like there's one individual that sells 50 a day. There was one individual, actually Eric, everyone remembers because we brought him into our marketing and then, life happens and his source of income disappeared. And he goes, Aunt, I have like 5,000 Rhino with you. I'm going to need to sell it. I go, well, do me a favor, please don't sell it all at once because I can't support 5,000 Rhino all at once. I go, but if you could sell 100 or 200 a day, that'd be really helpful. He goes, yeah, sure. I think he has like 600 left, but he was selling 100 to 200 a day. There's one other person that was selling 90 a day, and there was one other person selling 40 a day. So there's 4 people out of those 260 wallet addresses that are consistent sellers. Now there's another 10 or 15 that have sold. Usually it's after some type of event we do, right? Like where you buy Rhino at 150, and you always have those 1 or 2 people that are like, all right, cool, I'll buy it at 150 today and sell it at $2 tomorrow. Robbie, the only way they get their token is when they do get a wallet. The point of that is to show that they're not actually interested in selling at any point soon. Now, of course, you can get a wallet at any point and we have your balance, we'll send it to you, right? So they're not in fear that they are not going to get it. They just have no immediate motivation to do it. So anyway, as we continue, so you always have those people that buy at 150 and sell at $2, and God bless them, right? Like I'm I know that exists, so I'm not going to tell anyone you can't do it. But the overall majority don't do it. So I would say a total of, let's say 25, right? I would say a total of 25 wallets out of 350 members has ever even sold any Rhino. So 25 out of 350 is 1/14th. I don't know what that comes out to, like 1/14th, like 7%, 8%. Now, what is fractional reserve banking? Now, banks are allowed to lend out 10 times their reserves because the belief is no more than 10% will ever leave the bank at once. And that allows them to put money into the economy, to make loans. So at any point, there's 10 times more money in the economy than there is in the actual bank. But because people have different lives, some people live longer than others, some people need the money, some people don't need the money, blah, blah, blah. No, there is no actual statistical probability that more than 10%, and that's really being generous, more than 10% will ever need the money at the same point. In fact, that's what they call run on the bank. That's when the economy super scares everyone and everyone has no belief in government and they say, oh my God, I need to just go get my money. And that's when banks don't give you the money because they know if they did, they would go bust. So then they go to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, please give me money, bail us out, and the system goes fine. Well, we haven't, not only do we have no expectation of 10%, but statistically over the last 3 months, only 7% has ever even thought to go ahead and sell any of it, not even their whole portion, but just some of their portion. The point of this is because the way we built the system, because the way the automations are, all of your purchases are done at market price. That's automatic. Every single week, your purchases are going to happen whether you forget they exist or not, and they're going to be at market price. Now, of course, if you want to pause it, stop it, whatever, you press a button. And if you ever said, Anthony, I made a $100 purchase, I really can't afford it, can you refund it? The answer is always yes, right? Like, I'm on your side. The point, though, is when someone decides to sell, it's a different process. You have to actually go ahead and get a wallet and then swap it out to sell it. Or you have to stop your purchases or pause them or lower them, et cetera, et cetera. And it's not purposely difficult because that's not difficult at all. That's actually the minimum amount of steps. But because buying is automatic, it just happens automatically. Selling is not automatic. You don't know when you're going to sell. You don't know why you're going to sell. You don't know when or why or whatever. So that's a manual process. Well, when we could go ahead and calculate that 7% of the buyers decide to sell, we can then say 93% of the money that comes in is able to be used to continue building the coin, able to be used to continue building the market cap of it, able to be used to continue depleting the supply of the billion. Now, what's important about that is when the billion supply is gone, there is no more coin for us to sell into the market. We sell every single day. That means there's no more coin for us to sell into the market. And we do this purposely so it can go up very dependably, very reliably, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. Well, when we're unable to do that, then it just goes up much higher than 1% because we can't put a cap on it. This is where it all comes together. If only 7% are actively looking to sell, that means 93% are actively looking to buy, and automatically. And even that 7% that's looking to sell is still actually buying. They're just selling what they're buying, which means 100% are still buying and 7% are selling. Here's the math. When 100% are buying at market price, meaning any price it's currently at, and only 7% are willing to sell, what is the price? Well, the price has to continue moving up to entice new sellers to come out and sell. So you have the 7% that are going to sell, but what about the 7% cannot feed the 100%, right? Like, we know simple math, that's 7% is lower than 100. So how do we feed them? Well, all right, so Brian, I love Brian, and he's on the call, and he's alphabetically the first one, so we'll talk to Brian. And it's rhetorical, Brian, but all right, Brian, do you want to sell Rhino? No, I want to hold it long term. Okay, Brian, it's now at $10. Do you want to sell it? No, Ant, because it keeps going up. I know what's going to happen because I'm educated in what we've been doing the whole time, that I understand that when we have that moment where there's no more supply, it's going to go flying. Okay, Brian. Well, we need you to sell some. What would you sell it at? Well, I'm not going to sell it at 10. Well, what would you sell it at? You know what? You want some of my Rhino? I'll sell it to you for 100 right now. Oh man, that's really high. I don't want to pay 100. Here's the point in what I just said. That's really high. I don't want to pay 100 is not an actual sentence. The buys are automatic at market price. If Brian is the only one willing to sell Rhino, then the price he's willing to sell it at equals the market price. So the buy orders that come in that are automated will buy it from Brian at $100. Now, of course, it's going to buy a much less amount because a dollar can't buy a whole $100 coin. It could buy 1/100th of it, which is why we have 18 decimal points. You could buy up to 18 decimal points of a coin. So when that $1 buys Brian's, 1/100th of Brian's $100 coin, what's the market price? The market price is now $100. Okay, so now what about the next buyer? Where does he go? There's no sellers. Well, now a couple of new people are saying, hey, listen, if it's $100, I'll sell right here. Okay, so now the buys buy their $100 and on it goes. So after all the people that were willing to sell at 100 sold all they had, what's the market price? Well, it's got to be higher because now you have to entice other people that were unwilling to sell at 100 to now sell at 101 or 105 or 110. And this goes on and on and on, which is why I've always said since the beginning, this system is completely built to go to infinity. And everyone always says, Anthony, that sounds crazy. I get it. I know it sounds crazy, but the economics and the structure of it is built in that fashion. So when you could go ahead and actually see proof that over the last 3 months, 100% continue to buy and only 7% ever think to sell, and you take that and go ahead and take a look at the proof that the chart has been doing exactly what we said the whole time, and we have a case study of 350 members that has proven exactly what we're saying. Well, what happens when we start running ads and we start doubling and tripling and quadrupling the members? Well, now we're eating the coin quicker and quicker and quicker, which means we have more money coming in, which means we can go ahead and build the market cap up even further, which means we can support that 1% every single day even stronger. When we're able to do that, what does it show to the others that were unwilling to get in? Wow, not only did they do it for 3 months, but they're doing it for 4 months. They're doing it for 5 months. They're doing it for 6 months. All the while, we're going to sit there and tell everyone, guys, this is what we're doing. Once we go ahead and deplete the coin, it's going to go exponential. We are telling you this, which also is part of the email that I went ahead and highlighted, that when the coin goes ahead and starts getting exponential, that's not going to be a reason for people to sell, because that's not going to surprise anyone. We're managing people's expectations. We're saying to you, that is what's going to happen. So when it goes exponential and people say, well, you know what, when it goes exponential, a whole bunch of people are going to sell. Maybe they will. I have no idea. But I can tell you that it's not going to be a surprise. I can tell you that when it goes exponential, no one's going to sit there and say, oh my God, I better get out now before it crashes. No, because while it's going exponential because you have all 100% of those accounts automated to still be buying it, which means you could have 20%, 30%, 40% of people all at once, which why would they? But if you had 40% of Rhino all at once say, we're selling all of our coin and we're closing all of our accounts, the coin would still go up because you have 60% that would buy that 40% and still have a net 20%. So now what would happen to the 40% that just sold? They'd feel really silly. You know what they would do? They'd come back in and buy it. So I kind of think this ends with like some regulatory body saying, okay, I get it, but you need to stop. And when that happens, we'll shake hands and we'll say, okay, we made our money, peace out. But between now and then requires our next step. Our next step is, now that we have the proof, we need to go ahead and run the ads. Now, I started this conversation by saying I get a little frustrated. And what frustrates me is that even though redemptions come in, and there are people that are like, hey, Ant, I need some money back because life happens. I've always said yes. I've never shut down redemptions. I have told people, hey, I can't give it to you all right now. Can we work on this plan? And people say, yes, of course. Meaning that even though money's coming in, it's not actually staying here. I'm still taking care of all the redemptions. And even more so than that, people have been scaling back their plans because economy or whatever, which means not only do I have less money because I have money going out, but I have less money because I have less money coming in. All the while, I have not even, like, I don't even pay attention to it. I just keep building and building and building and building. Well, the problem is when you keep building and building and building and say, damn the torpedoes, you then get to a point where you're like, oh my God, like this is actually a near-term concern. And not near-term as in like today or tomorrow, but near-term as in like, I need to go ahead and get on the phone and raise some money because a week or two from now, we could have a period of time where it's like, yikes. But the point of that is, what we trust Rhino for is that we can see ahead of time. I can see the numbers. I'm not like a do-to-do. I can see a week from now, I'll have a decision to make. Well, not a decision to make, but I'll be in a position that I'll wish to myself, oh, golly darn gee, I wish I was able to act sooner, which is what the email was yesterday, which is what the calls are going to be for today. This is me acting sooner. So even though a week from now could be not fun, we'll never get there because here we are today, right? And the part that bothers me is I'm doing everything that I could do, right? Like we're doing all of this, but it's always been a partnership. It's not, okay, Anthony, go ahead and pull a rabbit out of a hat and we're just here watching. No. So when I make these calls, I don't want to be on the phone. I want to be working. I can't work because I got to be on the phone, which means I'm taking time away from what I need to do so that I can go ahead and call you so that you can do what you need to do so that we can continue moving forward, because everyone on this call, especially on this call, has a really, really strong vested interest. So when I have to make these calls, which is fine, I don't want to sit there and pitch and have the sales call and have someone tell me, no, I have no money, or no, I can't do it. Now, with respect, like I know for the most part, people's financial situations. And for the most part, I don't expect anyone to lie to me. So if someone says, hey, Aunt, I can't, the answer's fine. But inherent in any type of pitch is, I always got to expect someone's going to say no right away. And then. Realistically, I just want someone to say, all right, Aunt, I see what you're doing. I got it. Let's go. Because they see the opportunity. They see what's ahead of us. So which is why in the email I said, we want 200,000. And if one person can do it, we'll give it to you at $1 a coin. And that sounds crazy. Everyone on this call right now is like, $1 a coin, it's 240. Like that's nuts. No, it's not. And everyone on the call might say, well, that person could go ahead and just blow it out the next day and destroy everything. Yes, they can. But why would they? Right? If you're giving 200,000, then you're getting 200,000 coin. You know to yourself that the market can't bear 200,000 coin. If you went and sold 200,000 coin, you'd bring it down to like 0. So yeah, that sounds bad. And oh my God, someone has that power. Yeah, but it's their 200,000. Do they want their 200,000 to go to 0? Now that person has such a vested interest in the coin that despite your fears of, oh my God, that person has too much power. No, they actually have no power, because you ever hear the sentence, if you owe the bank $1 million, they own you. If you owe the bank $1 billion, you own them. Well, that's essentially what it is. If someone has that much vested interest, they are so interested and so vested that the coin continues going up that they may actually never sell. They may say, I'm not going to be the one to bring this down because I own such a big part of it. I'm actually not going to sell it. I took it off the market and I will wait till the day that it goes crazy to sell. In fact, that person is going to be the strongest partner. In fact, that person is a stronger partner at $1 than if he or she bought in at $2. Because at $2, all right, it's $2, it's $2.40, let me sell a little bit. But at $1, you have twice the supply. You would never do it. So that's why I said, if I can wrap this up in one person, then you make my life way easier because I don't need to make 1,000 calls. So let me go ahead and thank you by making your life way easier by giving you $200,000, 200,000 coin that's instantly worth about $500,000, right? So everyone's happy. Oh my God, it's 10:34. I need to actually start making these calls, right? So that's all the proof we have. And I really truly believe that anybody can see, all right, well, if we pour gasoline on this and lead with the proof, and go ahead and run ads and bring in new audiences and partner with different influencers, that we can really do something quite big. Because as silly as it sounds, all the hard work has been done. We to share a vision of what these 3 months would look like is not difficult. To actually fulfill that vision is difficult. Inherent in that, though, is that sharing the vision had to have been so calculated before that in fulfilling it was even possible. So anybody could come out and here and say, oh my God, this is going to happen 3 months from now, blah, blah, blah. And you might believe them, you might not, I don't know. But the reason that they're not able to fulfill it is because they were just talking out their butt, right? For someone to actually calculate it, to know what's going to happen, then to be live every single morning right in front of you and doing it is something different. So to be able to do that and say, okay, guys, now if we could just pour gasoline on this, this is what the next year looks like, is my job today and tomorrow maybe. So let me get started on that. I have to check in with the teams and everything first, but let me get started on that. If anyone on this call would like to help me in this, please email me. Just say, hey, Ant, I'm ready. Give me a call now. And everyone knows my email, Anthony Calishon at Rhino Research LLC or Anthony at Rhino Street, right? Just email me and say, hey, Ant, give me a call now, because I'm literally going to go through the list from the top down. So if someone would like to be a part of it, please tell me. But I got to get going. And oh yeah, which is exactly why I was willing to make the offer I made in the text last. No, Brian, you're amazing. And actually, not to go ahead and give details to Brian's offer, but Brian made a very generous offer with his own supply of coin and said, I'm willing to do X, Y, Z to go ahead and help Rhino. In which case, I'm never going to accept that, because I want you to benefit to the moon and back, but I will always remember and appreciate it. And that has a real value. So thank you. All right, I really got to go. Love you, love you, love you. I'll talk to you soon. Hopefully I talk to one of you soon. So just email me and let me know. All right, bye guys.